Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Christy, for some reason, the Zoom when I was in the waiting room said the meeting was scheduled for 5:25, I think, and I had a mini panic attack of like, what day is it? Am I looking at the wrong week on my calendar? What is happening? But all was good.
I I don't know why that is. That is very odd. Apologies if that created confusion for anyone else. All right. And I'm looking for our new welcome PowerPoint.
I think it's just in the team chat.
Oh, intro slides. This is for program policy, but I suppose that will work. Yeah.
This is
Oh,
where
maybe, hold on. Let me see.
I found the chat.
Adam were chairing. He'd have a great question for everybody. Uh, who's
Let
got a
me
good
find it,
question
Christy.
for us?
Sorry, Dan, what were you saying? I talked over you.
Oh, I said this is where if Adam were chairing, he would have a good question for everybody, and I don't. So, has anybody got a good question for us? Like, is cereal a soup?
I mean, Dan, this is Adam. I will be at my desk in a moment. I'm driving towards my house right now. Last week our team check-in question was, what is the best bird?
Bird?
So, bird,
The best bird, just like top bird.
top
Ooh, that's a
bird.
tough
What's the
one.
best bird?
Uh,
Not that we
best
need to
bird.
choose that, but
Jill
but that
says bald
it,
eagle.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, yeah, bald eagle is the most American bird.
That
Most
wasn't the question.
Oregonian bird would be the duck. Very good.
There we go. Can we have like a bird category? I like the corvids,
Oh, yeah. Crows are incredible.
right? They're so cool. Christy, I'll just pull this one up. It's not, it doesn't have the membership on it, but it has the stuff to read. Will that
Okay.
work for you?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw a couple of years ago out our window, there's trees in front of our house, big ones, and there was a hawk that had planted itself in this tree, and the crows were not happy about that. And so they had a gang of about a dozen crows that took turns dive bombing this hawk, and they would literally fly right up to its head and zoom off one after another, like every 5 or 10 seconds. And the hawk just tried there and tried to be all, yeah, this doesn't bother me, this doesn't bother me. And then after about 10 minutes of that, the hawk was like, okay, fine, I give up, and it flew away. Wow, we've got egrets, doves, rosebird, which I don't even know, osprey, condors, peacocks.
Sometimes crows dive bomb people too, Allison, but only if they're like mad at you. So just don't be mean to crows. You should
That
be okay.
I don't know if you've ever had a robin lay a nest above a doorway, like a household doorway, and like you don't want to mess with their nest. That would be terribly cruel and terrible. But then they dive bomb you when you try to get in your house. It's wild. It's
Karsten
literally
is very much
so tough.
identifying with this story.
Yeah, and crows remember you. Like, if you make an enemy with crows, they'll even pass that on to their children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this person is your enemy. So, yeah, be kind to crows. Just out of self-preservation, if nothing else.
Dan, you're
For
on
the
a
sake of
real
your own eyeballs.
Yeah, you're on a real pro crow move right now. I see like all the, the focus on crows. I agree, crows are great. I will tell you, driving downtown Portland, when the crows are roosting and they're on all the trees, I do kind of feel like I'm in the Birds
Yes.
stock movie a little bit.
It's a
I'm
little
just a
terrifying.
little nervous, but I agree. Crows are
It's
cool.
sponsored by Big Crow. We're just all trying to protect our eyeballs, Cody.
Yeah, yeah. So are they doing the swirling thing, Allison?
And
That's
then roost in the tree for a little bit, and then they roll up again, and you're like, ah.
yeah, it's impressive. Okay, Christy, how are we doing towards a quorum?
We've got lots of people, so I did not do a head count, but I am very confident that we have more than enough to move forward.
All right. It would probably be negligent then to not do so. So it's 11:07. Oh my goodness, I diverted us. Call this meeting to order of the Investment and Finance Committee of the System of Care Advisory Council. Are we taking, are we doing introductions? That's probably our first agenda item, isn't it? So, and my screen just blanked out on me as it seems to do every once in a while. Let's do real quick introductions. Christy, can you start?
Hey, everybody. I'm Christy Hudson, she, her pronouns, System of Care Transformation Manager and staff for this committee.
Thank you. I'm just going down my screen. I'm Dan Toma, he, him. I am retired and the chair of this co-chair of this committee and on SOCAC as a representative of the commercial insurance industry or a provider thereof. Is it Amy?
Morning. Hi, I'm A.B. Walsh. I'm with Direction Service. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a provider.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Welty.
Thank you, Dan. Cody Welty, I'm a research analyst for Oregon Health Authority, but assigned to System Care Advisory Council, basically as staff. So I'm kind of our on-staff data and analytics person. I use he, him pronouns. And I will send it to Allison Start.
Hi, I'm the new co-chair of the Investments and Finance Committee as of last meeting, and I am on the System of Care Advisory Council, and my day job is I am the CEO of Albertina Kerr.
Awesome. Thank you. Karsten.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Peterson. I am the Behavioral Health Manager for Children, Youth, and Families for Jackson Care Connect, and also help to oversee systems of care within Jackson County. And and I'm happy to be here. And I will pass it to Molly Rogers.
Good morning, Molly Rogers, and I'm the director of the Wasco County Department of Youth Services and a member of the Oregon Juvenile Department Directors Association and a member of our local System of Care Executive Committee. And I will pass it to Ben Hoffman.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ben Hoffman, he, him. I am a general pediatrician at OHSU Dornbecker, the director of the Oregon Center for Children and Youth with Special Health Needs. And I will pass it to, sorry, I missed a bunch of people. I'll pass it to Soren.
Good morning. I'm Soren Metzger with the ODHS Office of Developmental Disability Services and the Assistant Administrator of Operations. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I will pass it to Paul.
Good morning. I'm Paul Sell, Associate Director here at Youth Development Oregon. I kind of lost track of who was going. So Dan, can I just put it back to you? Is that all right?
Sure. I think Courtney has not introduced herself yet.
Correct. Courtney Esparza, she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Behavioral Health for Trillium Community Health Plan And I will also pass it back to you, Dan, for whoever's left.
Okay, this is like a a maxi mental status exam for me. Jill, I think we haven't heard from you yet.
No, that was a great analogy. Jill Archer, she, her, I'm the Chief of Staff and Policy Director with Behavioral Health Division at OHA. My colleague Annabelle is here. I don't think she's gone yet.
Thank you, Jill. Hi, good morning, everyone. Annabelle Atalik. I am the Medicaid and the Behavioral Health Division's Budget Administrator for OHA. I will pass it on to Alex.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Medina. I am the Deputy Budget Administrator for the Behavioral Health Division. And I'll pass it to Drew.
Hi there, Drew Cohen. I work with Alex and Annabelle. I am the Behavioral Health Team Lead for Budget. So I'll pass it back to you, Dan. I don't know if might have figured out everybody else.
Okay, I think Anna, we haven't heard from you yet.
Anna Williams, she, her pronouns, Executive Director, System of Care Advisory Council. And I think Andrew hasn't introduced himself yet.
Hi, good morning. Andrew Grover, he, him pronouns. I'm the Executive Director of Youth Villages here in Oregon. I'm looking down the list. I have a pretty good memory. But Wes, how about Wes?
Hi, everybody. Wes Rivers, Senior Policy Analyst with the Alcohol and Drug Policy Commission. I use he, him pronouns.
And Heather, I don't think you've introduced yourself yet.
Hi, good morning. Heather Pasco Rosenthal. I'm a local system of care manager for the Marion Polk region with the Willamette Health Council.
Thank you. And Adam, I think we haven't gotten you yet.
Not yet. Hey, everybody. Adam Rodakowski, he, him, Director of Foster Care at Greater Oregon Behavioral Health, Chair of the System of Care Advisory Council, and the black cap chickadee is the best bird, folks. It didn't have to be an aggressive bird, but I'll see where y'all went.
All right. Thanks, Adam. And I believe we've gotten everybody, but who have we missed? All right. Fantastic. So at the beginning of each meeting, we like to go over the group agreements verbally. So we ask everybody to be present. If you're able to avoid multitasking, that would be fantastic. We like to be able to assume that we will all be treating each other with respect, avoid interruptions, use people with pronouns. If you hear acronyms, please put them in the chat and try generally to avoid them, although that's a challenge, I know. Let's be curious about our disagreements rather than taking them personally. If you tend to talk a lot, see if you can lean back. If you tend to not talk so much, see if you can lean forward. I was at a training yesterday, and one of the presenters said, "I'm a slow processor." That's for that reason, I don't talk a lot in meetings, but sometimes I have something really valuable to say. Let's stay away from individual situations and crises. We've got great resources here that you can connect with individually if you have an individual situation that needs to be solved, and that you are always more than welcome to do that. Let's stay focused on our purpose of improving the system of care. Let's be mindful of power dynamics, that some folks have more access to the levers of change than others. And let's also be sensitive in our comments, try to avoid harming others. And if we do harm each other, be open to, or are harmed by each other, let's be open to repair. Success of repair attempts is a key indicator of successful relationships. So let's be good at that. Okay. Any comments about our group agreements? Okay. I would like to sneak in an announcement or two at the beginning of the agenda, and an agenda item around the RFP, request for proposals, and the ensuing work around studying all the financial inputs and outputs for the system. We had talked last month, about we were thinking we would have a proposal for a grant, and we do not have that on the agenda. The reason for that being we thought we had a lot of money that was unallocated, and it turns out that was an accounting misunderstanding, and basically pretty much all our money is allocated. So we are not going to be kids in a candy shop this year, unfortunately. Most of our spending decisions for this year have been made. So we're really going to be focusing on shaping the future much more than finding wonderful things that we can finance. So that's her announcement. And as Allison said, she has volunteered to be the co-chair. So thank you very much, Allison. Okay. Anything else on sort of general announcements before we dive into the rest of the agenda? Hearing none. Can we get the proposed charter with revisions from our last meeting up on the screen?
Yes.
So our goal today is to take one more look at this, and hopefully it reflects all of the, I think it does reflect all of the comments and edits that we had last time. So hopefully we'll be able to approve that. We'll just give people a little bit of time to review that. Christy, do you want to go over the edits that were made?
Yeah, there weren't that many. Let me scroll back up to the top.
And could you zoom in a little bit more?
Sure.
Thank you.
Last meeting, we talked a little bit about specifying that quorum is 5 voting members. So we added that note specifically. We also added mention of SOCAC's equity tool. We didn't talk about this in our committee meeting last time, but SOCAC staff have been talking about our equity tool. If you've been around, we used to call it the GARE analysis. We revised it. We tried to make it more of an accessible tool that only took, a little bit of time and not weeks of time. And so we're going to, want to be using this tool. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I hope you do that. It is hyperlinked here. So I just wanted to note that that is something we'll be using in our decision making, particularly around budget and funding. Within timeline and milestones, we added a note here that we're going to be providing recommendations on state agency budgets for the 27 to 29 biennium. That will be starting, I think, at our next meeting. And then there was also a note about hoping to leverage opportunity in the next CCO procurement process. That is also starting this summer, as we have heard from OHA. So added a note about that as well. We didn't actually make it through the rest of the charter, so it might be good just to kind of spend a little bit of time talking about some of the sections we didn't make it to. And Dan, I'm happy to do this if you want.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
So membership and composition, we have a goal of 16 approved voting members. I haven't updated the count. We brought in a few new people and adjusted. That is our hope. SOCAC members, we are hoping to have 3 to 5 members. We have those seats. For local system of care coordinators, we were hoping for 2. We have those seats filled. Fiscal analysts and budget deciders from our state agency partners. We do have folks here from OHA and DHS, but we do not yet have anyone here specifically from the Department of Education. Molly, I know you're sitting in for County Juvenile Justice. I don't know to what degree you feel comfortable speaking to Oregon Youth Authority budgets, but that is, if you feel differently, let us know. And then in terms of youth council and family advisory members, hopefully who have noticed that we do not yet have youth or family members in this space. We're going to be working with our youth council and our family advisory committee to identify the folks that want to be participating in this committee moving forward. And I hope that we'll start seeing those folks in this meeting very, very soon. So specifically in terms of the members, here's a chart where we kind of identify you by name and then tell you a little bit what we hope your responsibilities are in this space. So hopefully you are familiar with those things. And if I'm missing anybody, please do let me know. I think we've got our council members, our local system of care coordinators identified. We've had a little bit of change in our state representatives, specifically OHA. We had a little bit of a transition, so I really want to thank Annabelle for stepping into this space. And then our other providers. So let me pause here. Are there any questions as you all reflect on kind of what the identified responsibilities here as they're articulated, and or if your name is missing from this table and you're like, I think my name's supposed to be there, please speak up.
All right, not hearing any. Is there more below that, or is that
There's a few things. Yeah, really just this little blurb around assumptions, constraints, and risks, and then a few reference documents.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward, I think.
So again, our hope is to approve this. Before we move on that, any discussion about approving or not approving this charter?
I say let's get to it.
All right.
I would like, I know this is a silly detail maybe, but can we spell out people with lived experience and not call them PWLE? That's a very minor friendly amendment, but other than that, let's get going.
Great suggestion. Thank you, Andrew.
Christie accepts that friendly amendment. So Andrew, can we consider that a motion to approve?
I move to approve the charter.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion needed before we see? First of all, we'll see if we've got consensus, which means that I don't think we have the consensus model up, but okay. Is there anybody?
We're not doing that anymore, Dan. We're just straight up and down voting. Raise your hand if you vote yes.
All right. All those in favor, please raise preferably your digital hand.
And then I have to read them out loud into the record. I don't know why that is, but that's the public meeting law rule for bodies under 30 voting members. So Jill Archer votes yes, Allison Stark votes yes, Dan Toma votes yes, Adam Rodakowski votes yes, Karsten Peterson votes yes, Wes Rivers votes yes, Andrew Grover votes yes, Ben Hoffman votes yes, Molly Rogers votes yes, Courtney Esparza votes yes, Amy Walsh votes yes, Annabelle Attelig votes yes, Soren Metzger votes yes. Are there any no votes? Maybe we should do that first so that if you want to vote no, you don't feel so much social pressure.
You may specify your no vote if you choose with a crying emoji to distinguish it from the hand.
That is official guidance, yes.
Okay. The motion passes, and we will make the requested update before finalizing.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, we did a thing.
Yeah, and then I realized I added an item to the agenda at the beginning, and then I skipped right over it. So let's come back to our new agenda item, which is we discussed last month that we're commissioning this study of the financial inputs and outputs of the system of care. There is a request for proposal in the works that staff and leadership of this committee have been working on. And one of the things that seem to get wide agreement in this group is that we want to be very deliberate about the guidance that we give to whatever contractor is eventually chosen, in terms of what to focus on and what's going to be in scope and what's going to not be in scope, to maximize our chances of ending up with a useful report rather than just a report. We discussed potentially having a work group, so a subgroup of this committee to do that. And so I think I'm going to, unless tell me if I'm going wrong here, I'm just I think it's safe to assume that this group wants that to happen. And so I would entertain volunteers for that work group. And Ben, I think you still have your hand up from there you go. You gotta be careful about that.
Yeah, and maybe Dan, it might be helpful if I talked a little bit about the anticipated time commitment.
That would be great.
Folks, yeah. So we're just finalizing the request for proposal language with our contracts department. Once that's finalized, they'll put it out. I can't remember how long it'll be open. I think folks might have like a month, let's say, to provide a response to that. So we're probably talking about convening some sort of review panel, maybe midsummer, maybe June, July, August, kind of depends on when we get that solicitation out. And then, Dan, I think what you're thinking is that folks would have an opportunity to be a part of the review panel and like review applications. Is that what you're thinking?
So yeah, as you speak, I realize I've gotten ahead of myself because we have to do that before we, well, maybe we don't have to do that before the review panel, and maybe it's the same group of people that wants to do that review and then subsequently give guidance to whoever is chosen. So I guess that what we're really looking at is a work group to review proposals and then provide guidance to whoever ends up being selected as the contractor.
Yeah, and the project will probably take, at least 6 to 9 months. So we're probably looking at a work group that will meet for like about the next year-ish, give or take.
Beginning, do you think in June or?
Oh, no, probably more like July or August by this point. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Dan, do you want to talk a little bit more about, I just want to make sure everybody on the call knows kind of exactly what they're signing up for. I don't know. Is anyone confused, or maybe it's just, I feel like I'm on the inside, so I kind of have a better understanding. Or maybe Christy or Anna or Dan.
Yeah, Christy, can I bump this one off to you to just review again sort of what this project is?
Yeah, totally. I was trying to remember exactly what we discussed at the last meeting. But if I can't remember, then you all probably can't remember either. But we are going to be finding a contractor to help us complete a fiscal assessment of the system of care. So in alignment with the goals and the vision of our strategic plan, we're wanting to really understand where is the money coming from, right? We're talking about federal funding, state funding, local funding, services that are provided by both Medicaid and commercial payers, of looking at all the funding that comes in to provide services for young people 0 to 25 with complex behavioral health needs. Trying to understand like the administration of those dollars, like how are they administered? Where do they go? How many people are they serving? What kinds of outcomes are we getting with those dollars? And then also hopefully someone who can help us better understand the opportunities to make better use of those dollars. Like where could we be better maximizing our Medicaid reimbursement? Where are we maybe duplicating services? Where do we have gaps? Where could we shift funding to cover those gaps? So those are just some of the questions that we're hoping this assessment will answer for us, but we're really hoping that by the end of next year, we'll have a much better understanding of the types of dollars that we have, where they're going, where we have some flexibility, and where we can really shift our resources to get to the outcomes that we're hoping we'll achieve.
Yeah, and I would just jump in and say, I think this is really, really important work. Like, I think this is critical and key to understanding how system of care really impacts and affects the kids in our system. And it really aligns, it was really working to align our system with our goals as we've outlined as part of our strategic plan. So this feels very meaningful work and probably is going to push us to really, it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard work too, right? Because we're going to actually have to take kind of a critical look at what we're doing. And so to use one of Anna's statements, this is probably a brave space work of, having to have those kinds of conversations and that engagement in this process.
Well, I'm seeing 4 volunteers in the chat so far. I'm one of them.
I see Soren's hand up.
So I just had a clarifying question. So the ask now is for participation in the development of the RFP, or is it actually being an evaluator once we receive the RFPs, or what specifically is the ask for right now?
Yes, not for development of the RFP. That's we've done a lot of work on that, and that's I think pretty close to being completed. So it will be evaluation of the proposals, and then further guidance of the selected contractor in terms of the scope of the work.
So like I'm sure you've had this kind of experience, Soren, over the course of time where like you do the grant review, or the contract review, you pick the person, and then you have that kickoff meeting where then like what they thought you meant and what you really meant, we have to kind of negotiate between and like get them to where the real work is happening the way that we really want it to be. So this subcommittee will sort of serve as the conduit from this committee to the contractor to make sure that what this committee wants to know from that successful proposer is actually what they're researching and bringing back to us.
Got it. That's helpful. Thanks.
All right. Other discussion about this item, but I don't think we need a vote of any kind at this point.
Can we read out who volunteered in the chat?
So like for the work group, I've got Molly, Andrew, Karsten, and Allison so far. Thank you so much. And I think, Dan, what I can do is I can send out some additional details and information. And if folks want a little bit more time to think about it, we've got time to do that.
Okay. Thank you. And I will volunteer for that as well. Okay, that's great. That's terrific. And anybody else has questions or interest down the line, feel free to get in contact with us. Okay. So we are at the point now for an overview of the 25 to 27 budget. Christy and Anna and Allison and I met last week to sort of get ready for this meeting and walked through some of this and and it was super helpful to us, to Allison and me. And so I hope it will be equally helpful to all of you in sort of getting grounded in SOCAC's budget. So Christy, I invite you to take us away.
All right, thanks. And I apologize for the very bland looking slide deck. All right, so we received general fund for the biennium, like all state agencies. So for the 25 to 27 biennium, July 1 through June 30th, so this is how, we're about a year into the budget and we have about a year left to spend in the budget. And overall, we got $8.2 million. And this just goes to System of Care Advisory Council as like an independent body, right? So the work that we do as staff to support the council and the committees and the strategic plan and really meet the mandates of our authorizing statute. About 55%, a little bit more than half of these dollars go to grants. These are non-competitive grants that we give to local systems of care and to the 9 federally recognized tribes. I'll get into the details about all of these things, but just high-level overview. 17% goes to staff. This is primarily salary and benefits for your fabulous team. 13% is going to youth and family leadership. 14% is going to implementation of the strategic plan. So this was both to help us develop the plan and the work we did last year, as well as start to take some movement on the actions that were identified in the plan. And then just a little bit for some council operations. Okay, so the big pot of money, our System of Care grants. Our statute says that we must award grants from the funds appropriated by the Legislative Assembly to the council for the purpose of supporting local system of care governance and for carrying out the recommendations in the council's plan, the strategic plan. So dating back to the 1921 biennium, the council was established in 2019. And in that first biennium, there were a few grants that went out the door. I think 6 out of the 14 local systems of care got some money that year. And since then, $200,000 a piece has gone out to each of the 14 system of care regions and to each of the 9 tribes. So $200,000 not competitive to the 9 federally recognized tribes starting in 2021, the 23 to 25 biennium, per recommendation from tribal liaisons at OHA. We also set aside $200,000 to NARA, Native American Rehabilitation Association, who serves Native youth in the Portland metro area. And then $200,000, again, non-competitive grants to the 14 local systems of care. The funding we give to the tribes, it's very flexible. It is basically like, here's your money. We trust you to do what you all want to do. As sovereign nations, we don't have really, as long as it's helping youth and family, we're good with it. So those grants often look very different. Some of them are using that funding for kind of behavioral health supports and services and different types of curriculum. And some of them are using it for like super cool, more capital campaign types of projects. So they're, renovating parks and playgrounds. They're, creating buildings with this funding. It's all really, really interesting, fabulous work.
Christy, can I just chime in here? Because one of my favorite projects was the Coquille tribe did a culturally specific teaching their kids to swim through their cultural camp. They identified that Native kids are one of the top drowning rates in the state. And so they're doing this deep connection to culture and keeping all their kids alive by teaching them how to swim, making sure they all have life jackets. It's super affirming and literally life-saving and really awesome. And they do it with such a tiny little bit of money. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So happy to share out more information or details. We often get pictures and slide decks, and I think those things really speak volumes to the work that's happening. Or maybe if some of you have seen this work in action, and anyways, we could talk for days about the work that's happening in the tribes, because it's really different and it's really beautiful. And then the $200,000 that we give to the 14 local systems of care. So this is the structures that are required per that CCO contract. Again, these are $200,000 for the biennium, non-competitive block grants. We have, unlike the tribal grants, we do have some more specific criteria and requirements of these dollars. So again, we could go into much more detail about what this money does in communities across the state. Some really exciting things happen with these dollars. For the 23 to No, for the 25 to 27 biennium, we are requiring some level of investment into the top three bullets there. So engaging youth and family members in the local system of care. They have to put some money to bringing youth and family into that structure. So this often looks like how they pay for stipends or equipment or how they address other barriers to bringing youth and family voice into their work. We also require that they put some money towards advancing diversity, equity, inclusion. So sometimes this looks like a DEI training, or maybe they are partnering with culturally responsive community-based organizations, or a lot of them are, translating and offering interpretation services for the meetings, those kinds of things. And then for this biennium, we are also requiring they put a little bit of money towards strategic planning. The CCO contract actually doesn't require local systems of care to put together a strategic plan. It references a strategic plan, but they don't really have a deliverable around a strategic plan. Given that is SOCAC's primary charge, we wanted to start getting a little bit of alignment into our plan. So we gave them some money. Again, we can't require them to actually make a strategic plan for their region. So many of them are using these dollars to communicate about the new strategic plan, holding a community meeting. Some of them are going to be developing or updating their strategic plan in alignment with ours. Again, we didn't give them a dollar amount, but they do have to do something with it. A lot of money goes to resolving locally identified barriers, and this is where you see a lot of creativity in service delivery. So there's programs related to respites, informal respite services. They're working with their school districts to fund qualified mental health professionals and peers in school settings. They're addressing transportation barriers. They're hosting parent cafes and other parent support, training, education spaces. The list goes on and on. Many of them are also using these dollars to support their system of care governance structure. So this is like, meeting facilitation, food, getting people to the table, partnership development, similar to how the council spends our dollars in our council operations bucket. Communication. So often this looks like supporting a website or working with a communications contractor to do some marketing and, putting ads on local radio stations, social media, swag that they distribute around the community. And then finally, distribute agile funding. So a lot of money goes here. I think about half of the local systems now use some of their grant for agile funding. This is like very similar to the CCO Flex funds. It's like direct payment to youth and families who are experiencing some sort of emergent social need. This isn't Medicaid funding, so it's a lot more flexible, and is often used when that Flex fund or HRS process is going to take way too long to meet the need. So although Medicaid can pay for housing services through HRSS or the health resources. I'm sorry for all the acronyms. Health-related services or health-related social needs, the HRSN dollars. We know that those systems are not really working and people end up waiting a long time. So the bulk of the Agile funding dollars does go towards housing, which it could include rent, it could include utility assistance, all those things, transportation, food supports, really meeting like the basic needs of youth and families that we know are so critical. Because if those things aren't being taken care of, it's going to be really hard for youth to access the care that they need for their behavioral health. Okay. Anything else on the grants? I also want to acknowledge that Karsten is
one
here.
question, Christy.
Yeah.
It looks like there's 23. Wait, let's see. 23 grantees, right?
There's 24 because there's NARA too.
9 plus NARA.
Okay, NARA, I didn't catch that. So 24. I was just one. Yeah, okay. For some reason, the math wasn't mathing for me, but I got it now. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. A lot more we could say here. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving, but we'll be talking about these grants a lot more in this committee. But hopefully this kind of gives you an orientation. Okay, about $1 million to youth and family leadership. Most of this is going to stipends and focus group payments. I think, Anna, we're at what, 350,000 for the biennium will be paid for kind of compensation for people who show up in our spaces and contribute to the work. We also have money set aside for events and trainings that youth and family leaders might want to participate in. And then we also have some contracts with Unicorn Solutions, with Vanessa Broadley, and with REAP, and that's really to support our youth and family engagement work directly. Anna, is there anything else you want to add on this piece?
Nope. I think you did a great job covering it.
Okay, staffing. Here we are. Anna, myself, Joylene, Corinna, and very exciting, if you haven't heard, we are finally hiring our public affairs specialist. So this is a position we have been talking about for years. Recruitment actually closed, I think, last week. Anna's probably sitting on 1,000 applications that she now has the pleasure of looking at. But I'm really excited. This has been something we've been wanting for a long time. You might notice that Cody Welty is not included in this list, and that is because he is that position is in kind from OHA. Cody's actually a OHA employee, so thanks to OHA and to Cody. Don't worry, he does get a paycheck too. Okay, and then again, another $1 million or so to strategic planning and implementation. So last year we used a little bit of this money for a strategic planning consultant that we brought in. So that was Addie and Elliot. We also provided mini grants to community-based organizations to amplify voice of communities that we wanted to hear from a little bit more. So that was around the planning. And then in terms of implementation, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things that we have identified and are going to be allocating money towards over the next year. So communications and marketing plan, this is really, and this SP 3.5.5, this refers to strategic plan, goal 3, strategy 5, action 5. So all of this work is this is what the strategic plan told us to do, and this is how we're going to move that work forward. So advancing our communications work, that's been a thing we've been talking about for a long time. We had some work, some of this got started with some contracts we had with Portland State University. Now we're really looking to a contractor who can actually do the recommendations and get that work moving. Local system of care orientation curriculum. So we're going to be partnering with Portland State University, the System of Care Institute, to develop a really nice package of asynchronous e-learning modules for local systems of care and other executive committee members at that local level to really kind of provide an even understanding of what system of care is and where we're going. System of care grant evaluation. So we're also going to be contracting with Portland State University, a research institute that I can't remember the exact name of, but they're going to be conducting an evaluation of the grant dollars. So that $4.8 million that we've been putting out every biennium, they're going to be going out and really understanding how to strengthen that investment. So there'll be lots of opportunity to learn more about that, but that will be really helpful, especially later this year when we'll be asking this committee for direction on how to grant dollars in the next biennium. We're continuing to work with ORE. That's the office of, oh boy, Cody, help me out. Research.
It's no longer ORE. They're splitting, and I wish I could help with what their new thing is. They're splitting into 2 different offices, which is definitely for the better because they were too large. It was Office of Research Reporting Infrastructure or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
And now it's going to be the ODHS Data Office and OPPR, Office of Performance Policy and Research.
Okay. Anyway, so we work with them because they manage our system of care data dashboard. For a very long time, we've been wanting to bolster those resources, incorporating education data and also better demographic data. So that work is going to be happening with a little bit of money that we're giving them to do that. A youth resource map. We granted a little bit of money to Direction Services to revitalize the youth resource map that maybe you had heard about years ago. And Amy, do you want to drop a link or just take a second?
Sure.
You still with us? Hi.
Hi. I'm happy to put a link in the chat. We're still working out all the domain things pointing to it correctly, so don't put www is my understanding at this point, but that should be fixed momentarily. But I'm copying the link right now for you.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So this like literally just went live
Right?
today.
Yeah.
So we'll have a lot more communication about it, but this was like a really valuable resource that was like created by youth for youth. It checks all of the boxes for system of care. So we were really excited to work with Direction Services to get this thing back up and running. The fiscal assessment, that's the RFP, the request for proposal work that we talked about earlier in this meeting. That's going to be a pretty significant investment, but again, really, really important. Expansion of Building Bridges initiative to include foster families. Some of you might have heard about the Building Bridges initiative work that was happening in residential spaces. The hope here is that we would pass some money to Department of Human Services to include resource families in that learning. And Anna, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
I'll just say that that's not totally dialed yet. So that is a conversation that is in alignment with, as you can see, a number of our strategic plan initiatives and is sort of promising on the horizon, but there's some I's to dot and T's to cross to make sure that it actually works out. So that is in process now. And then, Chris, do you have your hand up? I don't know if you want it up, but just FYI.
Who has their hand up?
You.
Oh, I do? Oh. I don't know how to put it down. I will figure that out later. And then the last thing here is that juvenile crime prevention risk assessment. So this was a request that came via Sonia Little Deer Evans and the Oregon Juvenile Department Directors Association. The juvenile crime prevention risk assessment is a tool that the juvenile justice system uses to understand youth's kind of risk for, all sorts of things. And from that tool, then they decide, I think, whether kids go into custody or whether they stay in community-based services. I'm sure I'm messing this up, Molly, so please jump in at any time. That's a really important tool. The data that they collect and use had not been validated for a long time, so we're going to be supporting. Again, this is a very small dollar amount, I think like $10,000, in addition to a lot of other partners contributing to get that tool validated and hopefully make sure that it's helping youth get to the care that they need. Molly, is there anything else you want to say on that?
Sure. So it's used in a couple different venues. One is it's our third party evaluation for our juvenile crime prevention funds. And over the years, it's definitely been a tool for us to be able to show that the work that we're engaging with youth actually reduces risks and increases protective factors. And so we do it in an initial, and lots of us make decisions at the front end, but then we do 6-month updates on it to be able to measure change. And it's just super unique to Oregon. And we have had it validated not only for our population of juvenile justice, but also across the demographics within juvenile justice, which is really important because we know that juvenile justice impacts demographic, racial, and ethnic and marginalized populations differently. So we're really, really pleased to partner with system of care as we move forward.
Thanks, Molly.
I want to do a quick time check. We're at 11:54. We scheduled public comment for 11:50. I do not see any members of the public here who are not part of the committee. If I'm missing that, please, and you came here to comment, please make a big splash right now. Seeing none, we'll call that public comment period. And Christy, back to you.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Sorry, this is a mad dash to the budget.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the last slide is just council operations. Little bit of money we use to bring the council together. We have 4 in-person meetings a year now, which is really exciting. That obviously costs a little bit of money. Your staff like to travel and get out in the world and get out into the community. So we pay for that. We need to pay Department of Justice for some financial supports when we need their expertise on certain things, software, translation, yada, yada, yada. Okay. that was a lot. I'm sure people have questions. Anything people want a little bit more detail on?
Well, since no one else is raising their hand, I'll keep talking. A number of the things you talked about are things we are going to spend. This is what's the deadline by which we have to spend this money?
Yeah, this is the joy of state accounting, is that you technically you get 2 years to spend the money down. And if you don't spend the money down, then they take it back.
So it's October 27? Is that right?
No, this will be through June 30th of next year, 27. Yeah, so just over a year.
Okay.
And the reason for those things that haven't gone out yet, Andrew, was really just a matter of like contracting capacity, right? Like we're just working our way through. So like for direction services, for instance, that was money that we intended to spend on the last biennium, but it took a hot minute to get through the Office of Contracts and Procurement. So it ended up coming out of this biennial budget instead. So just we get backed up on the paperwork side of things sometimes.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments?
Well, I think it's really useful to be able to see how the SOCAC kind of spends its money and spreads things around. And I think it's going to be really helpful as we think about moving into the next biennium. So keep a copy of this because you may have to come back to it when we're making decisions in the future.
Yeah, and I think that is really the beauty of this committee is that we have never had this committee before. So we will start talking about the 27, 20, 29 biennium soonish, right? Probably like later this year. And this committee will have a much bigger role in helping us figure out where we spend those dollars. So, and also the process by which we make decisions about those dollars. You won't get to make decisions about the whole budget, but we will certainly have some money that will be seeking your expertise and wisdom on what we do with it. Adam.
Yeah, sorry to keep people. I know it's almost lunch, but so we have to have those. It's been almost a decade now since I worked for the state. Back in the day, we were able to write contracts, and as long as the dollars were allocated before June 30th, we were good, even if they were expended into the next biennium. Is that still the case, or do they have to be expended by June 30? Or do we know the answer to that?
There's like a little bit of wiggle room. So if the work for anything, what we have been told is that the work for anything we're paying for has to be completed by the end of the biennium, and we have through August to pay for it. But we don't have a ton of wiggle room. It's not like we could have like $1 million sitting there and be like, oh, we're going to do $1 million contract in June and then still be able to spend out that money.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's a change in rule or something about how we're managed, Adam. I don't
Probably
know
just
why.
it's better contract administration, but like that, which is a good and bad thing, right? Sometimes. And so I guess then, right, to know that, then really we're talking about anything like meaningful probably needs to go out in the next 3 months so that there's 9 months to a year of work to actually have it be done in this biennium.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Which is why we are very fortunate to have a very responsive contracts person to help keep all this stuff moving.
All right. Thank you, everybody. There is a post-meeting survey. There's a link to that in the agenda. So if you have feedback on how this meeting went down and how you would like to see future meetings go down similarly or differently, please give us that feedback. Thank you, everybody, for your work, and we will see you in June.
All right. Thanks,
there's
everybody.
There's a link right there, too.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.